on the horizon. It's been said that those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear will play a paramount role in the furthering of humanity and civilized society. But can civilized society and humanity survive the coming conflicts not seen since a dawn of time in ages bypast? But you can find true forms of information and knowledge in abundance at revolution.radio, freedomsluts.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the globe. Stand upon the right side of history. Revolution.
And good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee Rants with Dan. I am Dan, the Spiritual Anarchist, your host. Excuse me. Today is April 2nd in the year of all of us, 2026, and we have 1 month left in the dark occult season of sacrifice. And I want to start off by just explaining what the occult is, because I have some friends, usually Christian friends, and I'm okay with anybody's spiritual beliefs as long as they don't think their spiritual beliefs give them or anyone else an excuse to initiate harm to somebody. Your spiritual beliefs are fine. If your spiritual beliefs espouse truth, and if they espouse piety, charity, voluntary association, true humility or humbleness, not fake, okay? I spent a lot of years in law enforcement. I was in the United States Marine Corps during the first Gulf War, Desert Storm. And what's the war going on now? Well, it's called Operation Epic. I'll just call it Operation Epic Murder. Anyway, I have been around and seen my fair share of different spiritual practices, and I'm not against any of them. If you believe, if you're of the Muslim faith of Islam, and you're not using your faith as an excuse to create harm to others, to initiate harm, I have no problem. In fact, the Quran teaches peace beyond to all the prophets. It's got math in it. I actually learned math in the Quran. The Quran, not the Quran. It sounds like I said crayon. Marines like to eat crayons, so excuse me. There's like a million offshoots of Christianity, so I won't even get into how many different offshoots, but each offshoot of Christianity is just someone else's egoic interpretation of somebody who wasn't a Christian, which is Jesus. He wasn't into religion and or government, and he spoke out against both, and they murdered him or tortured and attempted to murder him, according to the Jewish book of the Essenes. I can go on and on with this history, but the point being is I don't have a problem with people's spiritual beliefs as long as their spiritual beliefs aren't being used as an excuse for their pathology of slavery and murder. And unfortunately, that's what all religions do. They mix up the state and the religion, and instead of it being a spiritual practice, it turns into a really strict religion that you must follow. And you'll stay happy within all the contradictions in all the scriptures. Not ask anything about certain scriptures where Jesus explained how you're supposed to treat a slave. Now somebody will want to jump on and explain, well, Jesus was dealing with the problems of the time, and what he really meant was blah, 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 blah. No, Jesus isn't going to tell you how to do a slave. That's not the same guy flipping over tables at the synagogue and chasing people around with switches. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. But at any rate, people have this thing where you're either of the light or you're of the occult. Oogie boogie. Okay? Listen, the etymology of words is important, and the word occult means hidden. To occult something is to hide it. If it's been occulted, it's been hidden. And the most simplest of information is occulted. To study the occult or understand what the occult is doesn't mean you're just evil oogie boogie guy and you're not of the light. I could stay occulted in my cabin, never go out, and still be 100% of the light. How I talk, how I serve, how I think, actions I take that don't initiate harm, actions I take that actually help others, and I'm staying hidden or occulted. So all the occult means is hidden. This is why at the beginning I said dark occult, because that would denote people who use occulted information for dark purposes. The information in itself is just information. So the powers that shouldn't be don't want you studying the occult. They make it seem like it's bad. Yet all their teachings and trainings come from knowledge of the occult. All their orders are given to them by people who are very knowledgeable and experts in the occult. Occulted information. So with that said, what do I got going on here? If you want to see my work, you can go to YouTube at Spiritual Anarchist Daniel AR 5907. I'm also on the OneGreatNetwork.com /Dan-Arnold. On the 21st of April, 1 o'clock London time, 8 o'clock a.m. Ohio time, here in the U.S., Eastern Standard Time, I'll be doing an interview with Sovereign Pete. And that interview is coming about because of somebody who's seen my presentation on Funnel 5. So if you haven't checked out the Funnel 5 presentation yet, all of Funnel 5 was a 2-day event back in February, late February, 21st and 22nd. Go check it out. End of Evil podcast with Chris Jensen has it. And it's worth seeing. I got a lot of good feedback from it. And, you don't do something that you get good feedback from it and just all of a sudden stop. So I've been off Facebook since the 18th of February. I got off Facebook on the 18th of February, just park the account, so to speak, kind of for Lent, but I'm not religious. So I've checked back in here and there, but I stayed off it for the most part. Now I went in yesterday, and because my 40 days was up, I want to go 40 days without it, and I stayed on it the whole day, and I realized, wow, I know why I don't want to be on here anymore. My closest friends and my closest colleagues, let's just say in the great work, have my phone number. They can still email me. They can get a hold of me if they wish. But going and on Facebook and getting that quick dopamine hit for a like or for a post to give my sometimes I just post things on there because it's comical. Like everything's just so contradictory and ironic nowadays. But I really realize it's like poison for your system. It's like when I was a kid in school. I'm from Generation X. Okay, people always want to call us. Listen, I don't even want to get into that yet. People always want to mistake us for being baby boomers. That was my parents. Baby boomers are in their late 70s to mid 80s. That's baby boomers. Okay, us Generation Xers. We all look like we're between the ages of 35 and 45, and we're all between the ages of 45 and 60. I don't know how that's working out, but it is. But at any rate, I digress. I forgot what I was even what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So I got off Facebook, and I know why I'm back off it again. I'll probably stay off of it for a while longer for other reasons until a little bit into May. But I don't even know if I want to get back on it permanently because I get all my information from other sources, and Facebook isn't really a good source of information. It's actually a good source of disinformation. You don't have to leaflet an area for propaganda to work when you have Facebook. And I'm buried in the feeds half the time anyway. And the ignorance that I see from people on there, the ignorance in their beliefs about political things, because politics is not the answer. It's like your area, keeping your area clean. Okay, it's known as feng shui. Okay, Buddhist belief, you keep your area clean, and it helps to keep your mind clean. You keep your area uncluttered, it helps your mind to stay uncluttered, because everything has energy. So how you set up the energy of your place, it means something. And what we consume is more than just food. And what I consume on Facebook is it's rot for the soul. As a kid, we had this thing where we would do these comparisons in school, okay? Scissors are to hair as lawnmower is to, and then you'd have to come up with the answer. Grass. Well, things like Twitter is a little bit different, but things like Facebook is to friendship and real human connection as corn, with a P, hub, is to making love. It's all to keep us locked in these 2D screens and keep us in a state of distraction. Most people aren't even in front of a computer or even a good laptop. They're just on their phone constantly. Like I said, the gyms all the time. I go to the gym. I want to work out. I'm partially retired, and I don't have time to sit there while somebody does 3 sets in an hour and they sit on a machine that I want to use because they're on their phone. This isn't just an old person complaining. I'm pointing out that everyone is so distracted. And you have to ask yourself, why would they want that? See, I have a hypothesis of what's going on in the world. And because of that hypothesis, every time I see something, I know why it's being done. There's no sense in arguing tomato, tomato, potato, potato, when you know what the next thing is. It's called cause and effect. Okay? So with cause and effect, we have to start asking questions about everything. cause, for everything that happens in the world, for every war, for everything that they put on the news and make a big deal about on multiple news stations, what is the effect they're looking for? What is going to be the next thing in progression, stepwise, that's going to happen because of any given event that's the cause? What type of effect are they trying to create if they're purposely trying to create one? We were all locked down 6 years ago. At this very time, we were locked down. The governments of the world worked together for the cooties. Why are all the governments in the world at war now? And they can work that good together for that, but not for this. There's a new virus variant out there. I think it's called the midterm variant that's supposedly going around, so they can shoot us up with more experimental gene therapy shots to change our DNA. Read Safe Species of the Gods by Michael Tillinger. He expands on Zecharia Sitchin's work, Eric Van Daniken's work on astronaut theory, on how we were really created. It will bring you closer to God with a capital G. It'll make you more spiritual when you understand this, actually. What I'm seeing now, what made me think about this morning was because I just decided this morning what I was going to talk about. I had something else in mind, and then I seen this. I'm like, let me talk about this because I've been seeing an escalating thing with local cops everywhere. Warnings about cops impersonators are all over the place. I'm seeing these different people who are pretending to be cops. Now the newest one was the dude had a sheriff's department vehicle decked out supposedly, and he was a fake deputy. So why is that the new thing? What will the effect of that being a large-scale thing? Oh, the other thing is how, thanks to so-and-so allowing so-and-so across the border, we've got people who've been sworn in as police officers who aren't even American citizens. Wow. I wonder what the effect of that'll be. What could be next? You know what'll help us? I know what'll help us. If we were to nationalize and federalize all Gestapos, police, then we can just do away with all this fake stuff that people are doing. You have to understand, everything they do is so they can tighten the noose of control. Okay? The penalty for pretending to be a cop is pretty big. And we got people doing it? Come on. Seriously? Departments can't even recruit people. But there's people pretending to be cops? Okay, we'll table that for now. I'm sure that's just a phenomenon that's been recent. It's definitely not anything worth questioning into the bigger picture of things. But you have to ask. You have to see through the bullshit. You have to start, the main question you have to ask is, okay, this is happening. Who benefits because of this? The island in the strait over there by Iran where all the oil comes through, supposedly. If Iran turns it all the way off, all oil goes up to astronomical prices. Well, there is no oil. We don't have fossil fuel anymore. Don't they have electric Tesla cars that they want to get going that can only drive 15 minutes across the smart city? You got to understand, historically, humanity's been enslaved, and I'm not talking about chattel slavery. As an aside, where I live happens to be a place that the nearest small town that's a good town that has everything you would need in it. It's still 8 miles away, and this is sort of a vacation area where people go to escape life, and I'm blessed to be able to live here. People come here to fish, to boat, to camp, to hike. It's the cryptid capital of Ohio. If you look up the Columbiana County How Bigfoot howl. It's one of the top 5 Bigfoot vocalizations ever heard. There is a lot of things that go bump in the night around here. I think there's a lot of good things that are around here. But I think there's a little evil around here too that creeps the earth. I think there's certain things that we can't 100% understand, that natural law doesn't readily explain. But when you look a little bit deeper, it eventually will. Because things that are supernatural really are just simply natural and we haven't discovered them yet. But this is a great area that people come to for these things: camping, fishing, to research, boating. I already said camping. It's a nice area. Well, there's an event center here that holds up to like 400 people here on this lake, and I'm eventually thinking about doing a event here, possibly. But I also wouldn't mind having a smaller gathering of people from the network, and doing let's just, instead of a heavy metal show, it's more like a MTV Unplugged, and something a little more intimate, sort of like a I don't know, Knights of the Round Table, if you want to call it, where we kind of all tell our stories and how we got to where we're at and why we're doing what we're doing. Because everyone's got a different story that's trying to speak out against everything going on. And this is an excellent area for that. Why I think it's also important and why I think it would resonate with a lot of people is this area played a very important role in the Underground Railroad that helped actual chattel slaves when they were on the run, when they were escaping chattel slavery. It was one of the last Underground Railroad areas with all the tunnels and mines and stuff around here, where they were brought up through here as one of the last places, one of the last things they needed to do to get up to the far north of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and then the New England states to get to real freedom. But see, and this is a historical area for that. And I think a freedom event here would be good. It's a little expensive. I already looked into the prices of the rental hall, the halls and everything. So I got some work to do on that. I wouldn't mind, doing something like that. But we're getting to a point where are people listening? I'm not black-pilled. I think there's hope. But we got to start seeing through the bullshit. With cause and effect, we need to start asking questions about everything. Okay? So, number one, have some curiosity. Curiosity is the antidote to the manipulation. If you're curious about what's going on and why it's going on, you're harder to manipulate. Okay, when people stop asking why, they become easier to steer. Every major failure in history, both political, medical, and we've seen a lot of that, economic, traces back to people accepting certain political claims without examining the cause behind them. Okay, so asking questions isn't rebellion, it's a responsibility. If you're not allowed to ask a question and you're not allowed to speak on something, that thing that's being done you're not allowed to speak on is immoral. It's wrong. I'm going to tell you 99.99999 forever % of the time, anyone who does not want you to speak on something is doing so because they are a manipulating liar and have something to gain by your quiet cooperation. Now, I'm not saying go out and start problems. Some people will face their own karma on a small level, and I'm already seeing that. I've seen it before. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as a society. If we just swallow whatever we see on the news, we're going to just continue to take it. Effects don't appear out of nowhere. Every outcome has a chain of causes, even if the chain is hidden or inconvenient. If we don't trace what that chain is, we end up reacting to symptoms instead of understanding the system. Okay, diagnose what the problem is. The belief in authority, the belief that humans can't be trusted, yet we institute governments of humans to govern other humans who can't be trusted. It makes no sense to me. There's a contradiction right there. But you grow up believing in the contradictions of religious beliefs, which are dogmatic, and I'm using the word religion now in the sense of the colloquial version of religion, which means religare, from Latin, to tie, to hold back, to bind, or to rebind, and to keep from moving forward, keeps you in place. It's a complete brick wall stop from getting to any state of level of higher consciousness, which takes truth. So if you understand cause and effect thinking, it's going to keep you more grounded when these narratives start to shift, and you're going to ask questions. You're not going to immediately just accept what's being said. You start thinking in a way where you're not running all your decisions robotically through a political filter. And that's another thing with AI. You could be having an AI meeting with somebody. You could be you think you're having a Zoom meeting with somebody, and it's an AI bot, looks just like the person. And nothing you see is going to be is believable now on how realistic it is. If you're doing a live interview with somebody, ask them to raise up 3 fingers to show you 3 fingers. AI usually messes that up. Let's just throw that out there. But questioning is different things that you know are going to have an effect. Questions will reveal the structure of what it is. So when you ask, what caused this, you're going to expose motives, incentives, and patterns. Who benefits from whatever's being done? Okay. Anybody who discourages questions, they're protecting something. And a free society depends on citizens who interrogate their supposed elected officials. And they think we serve them, and it's the other way around. At least that's what they fool us into thinking, isn't it? Yeah, we're living in a world of ridiculousness. But I'm not black-pilled. Like I said before, I'm not black-pilled. So, also, do you have a hypothesis? Okay, from my research, I've formed a pretty good hypothesis based on others' research that I've done, my own research, from an eclectic array of different sources, and you can come to some type of hypothesis on what's happening. And I don't have to get real metaphysical or supernatural or ancient on you to tell you that what's happening in the world right now has happened before. We're in a loop, and it's happening again. It's a very easy historic pattern to see. So if you have a hypothesis, you're going to have an idea of how ongoing events will feed the next thing. And a hypothesis gives you a lens to look through. It's not a complete conclusion. So I'm not egoically or emotionally attached to my hypothesis or anything that I believe. If I'm presented with something else that counters that, I will definitely entertain it. I won't outright reject it. I'll take a good look at it. That's how everybody should be. My hypothesis is real simple. This isn't human driven. I think certain extraterrestrial beings have never left this planet, have been here the whole time. There's technology we don't know about or understand. There's more whistleblowers that are going to come out, and they want to enslave humanity. And we're in the middle of, more so than before, because those who made us are going to be returning. And like I said, some have never left. This is my hypothesis. This is a theory. I'm not going to state this as fact. But we're in a population control and a population cult agenda. They want to decide who can live or die. They use. I'll give you an example here, and this is the Fire Time chat I had. If they said to everybody, "Hey, this experimental gene therapy that we're using on you for this fake ass virus that we released, that's basically less deadly than the flu. I had it; it was different, but it wasn't as bad as the flu. This gene therapy jab we're going to give you. Here's the thing." Certain bloodlines, it's going to kill you pretty quick. Others, you might not start to feel its effects for another 5 to 10, maybe even 15 years, but it might end your life a little early. Yet for another smaller group of you, you might live to be 200 years old. This is the facts. Let's just pretend. I don't know if this is true, by the way. This is just really a theory. And they put that choice out there to people. At least they'd be giving a choice. Instead, they coerce people into taking these shots. Okay, humanity's lifespan, natural lifespan, has been messed with through needlecraft in the past. This isn't the first time it's happening. So my hypothesis is that the viruses, the needlecraft, the shots, the jabs, the wars, that's all part of the population cull that's currently happening. And everything that we do feeds into that. When you understand that both the left and right in this country, politically, the powers that shouldn't be in offices are working together, and there's stuff that neither of them know about that's there's no way they could know about. If you listen to some of the stuff that Dr. Stephen Greer says, I believe, I don't agree with him on everything, because he thinks all extraterrestrials are higher consciousness and wouldn't do humanity harm. And to a degree, if they wanted to do us harm, let's be honest, they could have already wiped us out in a different way. They don't want to do that. They also understand they have to abide by karmic law. They understand the laws that operate in this 3D universe. It operates through all the dimensions, just it has different expressions in different dimensions. But they understand that if they were to do that they're going to have some problems eventually. So you want to form a hypothesis based on information. You want to do research. That's my hypothesis. We're in a population colon control agenda, and eventually they're going to have smart cities that you can't go anywhere without them seeing you. They want to know where everyone's at, and they're going to have X amount of smart cities in every country. And you have like 15 minutes worth of driving in your electric car, and the car can go from A to B, and you can't even make a stop anywhere else. They want to think about Star Wars with like Republic credits. They want to make electric currency where they can just literally control every aspect of your life. So again, I talked about chattel slavery, but aren't we enslaved now when you think about that? And no one's doing nothing about it because everyone's in their phones or just hoping it won't happen. Okay, events that go on rarely stand alone. They cascade. Social, political, economic events, they feed into each other. And they know this, and they know how to use it and weaponize it. So once you can identify a pattern, you can predict the next move with surprising accuracy. The question becomes, what does this event set up? Hypothesis testing protects you from narrative whiplash. When you watch how one event leads to the next, you stop reacting and you start observing. And then you can, through predictive analysis, you don't have to be a psychic, through predictive analysis, know what they're trying to set up for the next thing to help you better prepare for it. At the very least, it'll keep you from getting caught up in the minutia of being drawn into arguments about stupid shit that doesn't matter. They want us divided. I wish that we had a chattel slave train like we had back when people in their minds think of chattel slavery, it was just about the color of the skin. They're dividing us by way more than just color of the skin. And slavery has existed throughout all of human history. Now, they do it in different ways. They do it through human trafficking, okay? That's a different word, but what is it for? It's for slavery, for slave labor, to harvest organs, for sexual slavery. And if you're an old guy like me and you think you're immune, that you can't be kidnapped, they might want you for slave labor. They may want you for your organs. It don't matter who you are, what you look like. I was at a parking lot in Walmart yesterday. There was this guy walking around, and he seemed to track on me. I didn't like what I felt from him. So I was almost expecting him to have a weapon of some kind. When he became aware that I was very aware of him, he sort of steered off and just went and lingered someplace else. Okay, Ohio is a big state where people get human trafficked and kidnapped because of the Great Lakes leading out to the Atlantic Ocean, because the Columbus area has freeways that lead to every state in this country. And this is for my law enforcement training, but America is a resource country. And I'm going to go take a look back around there again, because I think I might. This is one of those things where if you're not observing and you're in your phone, you'll wake up in a van blindfolded or something, because it doesn't take. These people have chloroform. They have things that'll put you to sleep. They throw you in a van and they drive off with you. You're gone. It happens that way. And they'll do busy parking lots. This guy, when he steered off of me and I was driving away, it occurred to me that might have been somebody looking to human traffic. That wasn't somebody looking to arm rob. Okay? Energy doesn't lie. Pay attention to the bad vibes you get from the dark-ass energy some people will have and carry around with them. Pay attention to it. Your gut instinct is not going to be wrong. There was something up with that dude. The only thing that kept him from continuing on me is he's seen me be very aware of him then all of a sudden. He's seen me checking my 6. He's not going to go after somebody like that. Okay? I was also parked on sort of the outskirts of the parking lot. You should endeavor to park in the middle part where it's right in front of the doors and cameras and all that. And they're not going to operate in that way. But it just occurred to me, wow, was I being stalked to be human trafficked? Holy shit. So be careful when you're out there. Everybody, not just the ladies. They're human trafficking. We're cattle to them anyway. We honestly really are. So this is a real problem. It used to be called slavery. Now they call it human trafficking, but it's slavery. It's physical slavery of one kind or another. And it's running rampant. Their raggedy ass energy will give them away if you pay attention. It was the same thing when I was being gang stalked at gyms because of the workers' comp thing I had. Their raggedy ass energy gives them away. Okay? They ain't smart. First off. I could do I might actually do a whole episode on surveillance, counter surveillance, and gang stalking. And just give you a heads up on how the nuts and bolts of it work. And it doesn't matter. I talked about it in this book I wrote called Arise from Darkness, Who Are They? Which at the time was a question. It's not as much of a question now as it used to be, but I still don't know everything. I know enough to be speaking out on the patterns I'm seeing, and I know enough to say that the problem humanity has is we're not adhering to moral law. And the more immoral we become, and no, I'm not talking about what people consent to do in a bedroom as immoral. I'm not talking about anything that's consensual amongst adults being immoral. I'm talking about initiating harm through threat of force, violence, I should say, not force, through threat of violence and coercion, knowingly lie. These are the things that initiate harm. These are the things that are immoral to do, because your rights are a verb. Your rights aren't an adjective. The adjectives in the Declaration of Independence and in our Constitution, all those adjectives are not your rights. Those are verbs. Your rights are verbs. They're actions that you can take that doesn't initiate harm. Those are your rights. Any action you take that does initiate harm is immoral, and those are not your rights. It's real simple. It's very simple. So you want to be able to see if something is organic versus engineered. If it's engineered or it was created, if it's staged, if it's street theater, you'll start picking up on it. One of the reasons why I also wanted to get off of social media was I was getting um you know it seems to be a platform that it's designed to amplify emotional extremes, right? Watch people get mad and talk like in a way that they would never do to each other. But I respect people who stay quiet, especially if they're halfway a public known figure. They don't get into all the noise. You see, because on there, calm, nuanced thinking seems to get buried under a lot of noise. So to me, leaving or doing a electronic fast is what I would call it. People on there stop being people, and they become avatars. It strips away the humanity. It strips away context. People say things that they would never say face to face. Okay, there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there. When I see people, friends even, celebrating the harm or humiliation of other human beings, what was allowed 6 years ago on there is not allowed on there now, and vice versa. Really, it's still just censoring. I don't celebrate the death from a heart failure by somebody who was a left-wing voter who screamed to get the shots because they were fooled by their government. I don't relish or take joy in the fact that I was right that those shots are bad. Nobody in my position is going to be like, yeah, haha, I'm right. I've known it the whole time. F that. We don't want to be right about anything that we've been right about in the last 6 years. So quit celebrating the demise of your fellow human beings. And start asking yourself, what kind of loving God would demand blood sacrifices, even from animals? The needless murder of an animal. Folks, that's not a good entity that wants blood sacrifices. I don't care if the blood sacrifice has to be a squirrel. That's a life that, why would any God want a blood sacrifice? You got these little amateur Satanists everywhere that'll do little cat and squirrel sacrifices off in the woods someplace, while the big boys, they're doing it with the humans that get trafficked. So sometimes just stepping away from social media and getting away from all that, not looking at people applauding the death of others. The dehumanization of an entire race of people. Listen, man, what we allow to go on this planet is what we are consenting to. It's implied consent. We will all share the same fate if we don't wake the F up and realize there's two sides of this battle. Dark evil and human beings who understand natural law. Human beings who understand we don't do unto others that which we wouldn't want done unto us, and we don't want to see the murder of others, no matter how it's euthanized. See, there's a difference between violence, which violates a person's sovereignty through some type of action that brings physical harm to them, versus force, defensive force, that you would use to stop the violence to defend yourself from. The way the world's being set up now, I wouldn't recommend trying to stop certain violence from certain people wearing certain monkey suits with badges or other military whatever, because it's a losing battle. It's tantamount to suicide. And violence doesn't solve anything. Your defensive force, when it needs to happen, I'm not going to tell you when to make your stand, but they're doing such a slight squeeze. Read the book Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper, who was another whistleblower. Okay? And read the fate of these whistleblowers. Violence only temporarily creates change. It doesn't permanently create change. In order to permanently create change, we have to understand what true morality is under God's real laws. And when I say God, I'm referring to source consciousness. I'm referring to the creative force that created the universe. Not some giant glowing dude with a beard in the desert sky. It probably sounds like I'm talking at people, and if you're tuning into my show today, I apologize if I seem a little, I don't know, just a little off. I'm not as, I don't feel as driven as I usually am. I'm not black-pilled. But when I see everything that's going on, and people celebrating this shit, what the F is wrong with y'all? Your overlords in the red elephant cult and the blue donkey cult don't give a shit about you. Neither of you. All sides are wrong if you vote for this. Because what the blue did, they did on purpose. Cause and effect. Was it highly publicized? Military-aged men being escorted across the border by U.S. agents, and they really get people mad at the political people because order followers are doing this and that. Now that's given the current administration an excuse to completely militarize what they're doing. And listen, man, communism and Nazism are the two sides of the same coin. Totalitarianism, slavery. That's it. No one's the boss of you, man. They don't want people talking like this. Mocking people for being misled into something because they vote differently than you. And that misleading led them to side effects that may have caused their demise because of the needlecraft. They were fooled. And you know what? Mocking people who don't want militarized police and military in their cities detaining people. Well, there's going to be mistakes. Yeah, I bet you there'll be a lot of them. A lot of times they'll put the news out there. There'll be just a quick scroll at the bottom. Pay attention to what scrolls across the bottom of CNN. They have this little rule, this little requirement that they will put out the truth, but they'll just make it a quick scroll. They're not going to actually talk about it. Pay attention to that. All the people that have been taken out of this country as illegals and brought down to where are they being brought to? Venezuela or it doesn't matter. They're being brought into us. They're not found now. They can't be found down there in any of the jails or prisons. Where are they? We'll just table that for now because it's the midterms. We don't want to worry about that. I think the whole Epstein thing's a psyop that's been over-exaggerated. Again, what is their end goal? Their end goal is our complete, utter servitude, slavery, digital IDs. They want to make us into androids. I mean, this is about as crazy out there as it gets, but I'm telling you, it's coming. They wanted it before. So when you see all these political posts celebrating the death of others, celebrating others' misfortune, and then you start fighting over why it's okay to do or why it's not okay to do, you're feeding the problem. You're not doing anything to help the problem. You're not showing any love or compassion. You don't have to be a perfect human being to have love and compassion. I got bad habits I'd like to still work on. I want to still work on myself. I'm not perfect. I've talked about my problems, and I'll continue to talk about problems I had, how I got over them, how I had relapses, how I've had issues. I'm a human being, but I don't revel in the harm of others, nor do I initiate harm to others. My problems have been initiating harm to myself. Okay, overindulgence in any given thing is bad for you. And yes, I have overindulged at times in my life. Balance is the key. I'm not a perfect being. I never will be. But that doesn't mean I'm going to shut up and not speak out against evil who pretends they're perfect, murdering innocents. To me, what I'm seeing on there, the people care more about being right and correct than they care about actually being human and compassionate. They never want to make a mistake. They have no self-reflection or introspection. Without those things, without those capacities to self-evaluate, you're never going to grow or move forward. And I don't say be super hard on yourself, but don't be super easy on yourself either. There is a balance in that. If you're always super hard on yourself, that's going to turn into some type of pathological crutch that you're going to use to feed whatever. You don't want to be overly hard on yourself because sometimes things aren't your fault. And you trying to pretend that they are and you had control of everything and you really didn't. It's just you trying to have your egos, somehow say, this was partially my fault. No, sometimes you really are a victim of somebody's bullshit. You could admit that. But you should look at yourself critically. Our society is obsessed with vengeance. I literally had a right-wing voter who's in law enforcement who's like, well, we're going to get our pound of flesh back for what happened in 2020. Literally not looking at the human factor in this and not seeing the bigger picture. Zoom out and look at everything happening and where it's leading to. Instead of staying in your little small frame of consciousness that they want to keep you in and dumb you down in through diets, through poisoning our air, through dividing us in every category you could think of, not just skin color. I wish it was just skin color. It's every way possible. If you block off the straits of that island that all the oil can't come through, and Iran keeps that from hell, what would that do? That would make the rest of the world mad at who? A very divided United States. I feel sorry for the military people serving right now to the degree that you're going to be used as fodder, and I think some of you are being put into wood chippers, basically, being sent where you're being sent. Strategically, we're being spread out way too thin. And people were talking about this, strategists were talking about this 6 years ago, that it was going to happen. It's happening, folks, and we're not conspiracy theorists, we're conspiracy analysts. If you think it's all a coincidence, you're a coincidental theorist. We need to unite. Humanity needs to assemble around truth, compassion, love, and non-aggression. And once we do that, then we realize we're all together and we have a right to use force to defend ourselves if need be. But changing the hearts and minds of human beings is where real change will actually stay. Going tit for tat with violence with people, it's a never-ending thing. We do have to change. I'm not saying you don't have the right to defend yourself. But pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings. I'm telling you, they might have. That dude was looking to do something yesterday. Now that I think about it, and if I go back around there and see the dude there today, I will be contacting some people about him. But you have a right to defend yourself. But as far as the greater work for humanity is concerned, is we got to get people to understand the non-aggression principle, the self-defense principle. The principle of voluntary association, the understanding that violence does not solve anything. We have to get to a level of higher consciousness. We got to change the hearts and minds of people. That's how we permanently make positive change. Positive change isn't going to come through threats or coercion. It never has. It never will. And nature's going to self-correct. We're all going to share the same fate if we don't start getting it together. Anyway, that was like a long... I felt like I was just like lecturing the hell out of some kids. If that offended anybody, if I lost people, I apologize. Well, no, I don't apologize. I said what I wanted to say on my radio show because it needs to be said. And I'll keep talking. I'm not going to stop until I no longer have breath in me. But anyways, let's see here. Until next Thursday, you guys have a safe, happy weekend. Stay safe. Rain. Stay frosty. Stay aware of your surroundings. Nothing but love, man. Peace out.
Defenders of faith, I will belong. To the last of us, fight till we die. To the keys of the kingdom.